Today's video is black wax versus ebony oil-based stain for an aged look on furniture, and also part 2 of who has inspired me in my furniture flipping. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is a pair of nightstands I found out in a local estate sale for $100 for the set. They are in pretty good condition. They're just a little outdated with the color scheme and the marble or granite top. So we're gonna give it a new look and compare 2 different products to get that look. All right, first things first, let's take care of this blood sugar needle. All right, now with that gone, let's go ahead and remove the handles like I do on all my pieces and give it a good cleaning. Today's video is also a giveaway video, so you have to watch the whole video because somewhere randomly throughout the video, I'm going to list the details to make yourself eligible for that giveaway. I'm also going to give a couple clues about who has inspired me, the inspiration for this video. Once you think you know who it is, make a comment below. The first one to guess it, I will pin that comment. These are older nightstands, and sometimes the hinges need to go back exactly where they were, so I marked them so I know how to put them back in order. First problem is one nightstand has a shelf and the other doesn't, so I'll have to fix that. All right, once the doors and shelves are removed and all the hardware is removed, it is time to get to cleaning. These have been sitting in my storage unit for a couple months, so I dust them off with a rag first and then go at them cleaning with my homemade solution. It's a white vinegar, baking soda, and tap water mixture. You want to make sure to thoroughly clean your pieces before sanding so you don't rub any dirt and grime or oil into the wood, and also you don't want to gum up your sandpaper while you're sanding. That will make you use more sandpaper. All right, first clue about the person who has inspired me. They are also a fellow YouTuber with a pretty significant size channel. After cleaning, you always want to rinse your piece to remove any remaining cleaning residue. After the surface is thoroughly dry, it is time to get to sanding. I am using my Surf Prep sander with a fine grade foam abrasive pad. If you don't have a Surf Prep sander, you could always use a fine grade sanding sponge or even sand it by hand using some 220 grit sandpaper. I'm not trying to remove the previous finish, just scuff up the surface to give a better surface for my primer to adhere to. I would like to mention on the marble top section, I did use some medium grit sandpaper for that. After sanding, I dust the surface off with a damp, lint-free cloth and let the surface air dry. When transporting the nightstands from my storage unit to my workshop, I remembered one of the marble slabs fell out. So I figured I would check that. So I popped it out and it was absolutely disgusting underneath the edge of that top piece. So I went ahead and cleaned that, and I'm just going to re-glue it to make sure it is stuck really well onto the nightstand and won't fall out again. So if this is a wood top that I was setting back down into a wood nightstand, I would use wood glue, but it's a marble top. So I'm going to use this E6000 glue. This is the glue that I like to use whenever I am gluing together different types of materials. So in this case, it's a marble and I'm gluing it to wood. I just applied a strip or bead of glue around the lip there, placed the marble slab back in, placed a weight on it to kind of hold it into place, weigh it down, and then let that sit overnight. I then measured the shelf that came in the nightstand and wrote down the measurements, gave them to my husband, and had him cut me a second shelf from the scrap wood I had in the shop. The next morning, I removed my weights off the nightstands and they set overnight, so I went ahead and wiped any dust that might have settled with a cloth before I set my attention onto priming. For primer today, I'm using Rust-Oleum's primer in white. Now, I typically spray my water-based primer out of my paint gun, but I'm just showing you here that you don't have to have a fancy paint gun like me. This is a can that I bought from Home Depot. You can buy it in a can and roll it on, spray it with a sprayer, brush it on. There's just so many different methods to put on your primer. Personally, I tried all the different methods to figure out basically what worked best for me in my situation. All right, are you guys ready for the second clue as to who inspires me in my furniture flipping business? So the first clue was they have their own pretty significant sized YouTube channel. The second clue I'm going to give you is that they are a furniture flipper out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. If you think you know who it is now, go ahead and comment that down below. For the marble pieces, I'm using Dixie Belle's Slick Stick. So you can paint over granite marble, but you want to use a primer that is known for its adhesion. So there's Kiehl's adhesion that I use sometimes, or this Slick Stick. I don't normally keep this stuff in stock though, because I don't really paint over marble or stone very often. But I just wanted to show you guys that this is something that can be done as long as you're using the correct products. I let the first coat of primer dry for 2 hours and then came back and added a second coat of primer. I do have to say here that I found a little bit easier on the second coat to apply the Slick Stick first on the marble and then come back with the spray can and spray the rest of the body of the nightstand. After the 2 coats of primer was thoroughly dried, I went back outside and flipped the cabinet doors and shelves to the nightstands over, and I applied 2 coats, letting it dry in between on the front sides of everything as well, and then I let all of that sit overnight. The next morning, I grabbed my super fine grade sanding sponge. I bought these on Amazon. They're about 800 to 1000 grit sandpaper, so they're super fine. I'll make sure to put a link down below in the description if you're interested in buying those. But I just lightly sanded the surface, just really to remove maybe any dust, debris that might have gotten into my spray job, and then dusted it off with a lint-free cloth. After that, we are ready to paint. I am using Behr Marquee and a bleach linen. I'm going to spray this in my gun, so I pour the paint into my container, water it down to about 15%. My lid has a built-in filter, so I don't have to filter my paint first. Put on the band. On the 3M gum, it comes with different nozzles, and it's really easy to switch them in and out. When I take that off, there's maybe a tiny bit of paint on the end of the needle, and that's all the cleaning I have to do on the actual gun. The nozzle and container does have to be cleaned if you want to reuse them. Just snap it on in place, turn it upside down, and then your gravity-fed sprayer is ready to go. Now, this 3M AccuSpray gun does require an air compressor, at least a 30-gallon one. For this part of the video, I don't have it sped up at all. This is exactly how fast I can go through and paint pieces. Now, I cut the parts of the video out, just me switching positions to spray different sides of the nightstands, but it took me a total of 4 minutes to get everything sprayed on the nightstands. That is way faster than painting by hand. I let the paint dry 2 hours and then applied a second coat, let it dry 2 hours and applied a third coat. Now the cabinet doors and the shelf, I sprayed 2 coats on the underside or the back side and then flipped them over and sprayed 3 coats on the front or top side. And then I let all of that sit overnight. All right, here is your last and final clue as far as who inspires me before the final reveal. This YouTube furniture flipper out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area sprays furniture a lot with a Graco sprayer. Have you figured it out yet? Keep watching because coming up soon I'll reveal who that inspiration is, as well as tell you how to make yourself eligible for the giveaway. The next morning I start on the handles. I am using Rust-Oleum's flat black spray paint. I make sure to mist the handles and hinges going in different directions. Let that coat of paint dry for 2 hours. Flip the hinges over to the other side. Also sprayed another coat on that and then let that dry for a few hours. While I wait for the handles to dry, I start working on the nightstands. I have my super fine grit sanding sponge. I lightly go over the painted surfaces and then come back with a lint-free cloth to wipe away any remaining dust residue. And then this is where the nightstands split on their journey. One, I'll be doing the black wax and then comparing it to using ebony wood stain to see what the outcome is like. I'm more familiar with working with wax, so I start on that nightstand first. I'm using Annie Sloan's black wax. Now you've seen me do this a couple times on my channel before, and I do the clear coat first, but that's over chalk paint. This is latex paint with a satin finish, so there is no need to do the clear coat of wax first. All right, so I just take the black wax in an old brush, apply the wax working in sections all over, more heavy around the edges and then lighter in the midsection. Grab some fine grade steel wood, go over the paint or the wax again to blend it in, and then do come back with some clear wax to work the black wax off. Now this is a method that I have done lots of times on my channels, so just take a few moments here to watch the transition. I'll make sure to put a link down below for the other videos where I go into detail of this process. Once I finished up with the wax, the handles were dry, so I grabbed my Rust-Oleum clear in the matte finish and add a protective coat, making sure to do the front and the back side. And then I let that thoroughly dry, and then the handles are completely done after that. All right, on the second nightstand, I am using Varathane's Premium Wood Stain in Ebony. Now this is a new to me method, so I'm talking myself into it here, but I just apply the wood stain on using a chip brush. And I'm working in sections here. How do I know to work in sections? Because this is a method used by the person who has inspired me with my YouTube channel. This is a signature talent from That Shaby Guy. If that's who you guessed, you are correct. After getting the paint on, I grab a t-shirt piece and start wiping it back. And then this is kind of where I start to freak out a little bit. It's not wiping back beautifully like it does in That Shaby Guy's videos. So I have a second and I think, and I'm like, okay, well, he does say you have unlimited tries. You just need to reapply the stain. So I do try that method. Working in smaller sections this time, I apply the stain and then wipe it back. It does wipe back more, but not really what the look that I'm wanting yet. So then I have a moment and I'm like, well, what would Shabby do? Oh yes, mineral spirits. That's the way I decide to go. And use the mineral spirits to wipe the oil or the stain back even more, and then wipe it with a clean cloth until I get that look of age look that I want. So I repeat that process over the entire nightstand, brushing the stain on, wiping it back with a t-shirt piece, coming with another t-shirt piece with some mineral spirits to wipe it back even more, trying to make it even all over the piece. All right, how do you make yourself eligible for the giveaway? I let you guys know that That Shaby Guy is the inspiration for this video, and I am so thankful for the help that he has given me. With that help, my YouTube channel has grown to over 10,000 subscriptions. So to make yourself eligible, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, subscribe to his if you haven't already, and then make a comment down below that you are subscribed to both, and I will pick one random person to win a $25 gift card to Amazon. Woohoo! If you guys have subscribed to both channels already, no big deal. You are still eligible. Just make that comment down below that you are subbed to both channels so you have a chance to win that giveaway. Every time that I look at my statistics from YouTube's, I am blown away by the likes, the comments, the subscriptions, and I just know I would not be here without That Shaby Guy's help. So thank you so very much for being kind to me and helping my channel get to where it is today. One trick that I definitely learned working with the wax and the stain is to always take a step back with your piece and evaluate and make sure that the tones are even, and just one last check to make sure that there's nothing else that you need to adjust. And here's some rags that I went through with doing the stain. All right, so you want to let the stain set for at least 24 hours, if not longer, and then top coat it. I'm using Varathane's Ultimate Polyurethane. It is a water-based formula, and I like the satin finish. I spray a light coat over the entire painted in stain surface, let that dry for 2 hours, come back, add a second light coat, let that dry for 2 hours as well. Once that's finally dry, I come back with a fine grade sanding sponge, lightly go over the surface, wipe the dust away, and then add a third final coat with a much thicker coat this time. I do this spray top coat over the ebony stain nightstand only, and then I let that set overnight. All right, some thoughts on comparing the black wax versus using ebony stain. Now, I used the black stain over a white latex paint, and that was actually pretty bold for my very first attempt doing this. Even with having to use the mineral spirits to wipe the black stain back some, it was a much quicker method than using the black wax. I do think next time that I do a white paint and black stain method, I will either buy a high gloss or gloss paint, or add a layer of top coat first before I do the stain. At the end of the video, I will make sure to do some comparison photos of the black wax and the black stain so you guys can decide for yourself which one you like better. All right, if you're new to using an air compressor and a spray gun like I was, I have a tip of advice for you. Each air compressor comes with a valve on the bottom. You want to make sure to open that up after each use and drain it out. So you just open the lever, let the water pour out, make sure to close it. This just keeps the bottom of the inside of your air compressor from rusting out and will help your air compressor from lasting longer and not explode on you. All right, let's take a quick look at where we were in the beginning. And here is the wax result after. I love the dark wax and the shading and the details and the little bit of sheen that it gives you. And then here is the black stain in all the details and the poly on top with a nice, beautiful sheen. Again, a little bit more close up. Here is the black wax. Compared to the black stain. I think the two effects are really close, but also has a lot of differences as well. Again, the black wax and the stain. Which one do you like? Can you even tell a difference between the two? I want to know your comments down below. I will say with the black wax, you can wait for the paint to dry, add your black wax, work it to the level of grunge that you want, go ahead and add a clear coat of wax for protection, and then you're done. With the stain, you have to put it on, let it set for at least 24 hours, if not longer, and then apply the top coat to protect it. In my opinion though, I like the look of the black stain better than the wax, so I think that's going to be the method that I use from now on. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll pop up a video here of That Shaby Guy using stain to get his glaze look, as well as a deeper tutorial on how to use dark wax from one of my videos. That is all I have for today. I will catch you guys later. As always, until next time.